Good afternoon. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. It's not yet started. Please introduce. It has started.
Okay, so but still there are only 37 participants. Shall we
Hello?
start?
Now you can
So,
start introducing now.
okay, sir, okay.
Be a
Good
bit louder.
afternoon,
Why? Because
everyone.
voice is not that clear. A bit
Okay, sir.
louder.
So today we are here for the second lecture of day 9 of 21 days national training course on advances in veterinary research for sustainable development of livestock sector. And we are obliged and honored today to have with us Dr. Joken Bam. I welcome you, ma'am. And before we proceed for your lecture, let me introduce Dr. Joken to our participants. Dr. Joken Bam is currently working as a scientist at ICAR National Research Center on Yak, Dirang, Arunachal Pradesh, India. She is a graduate of College of Veterinary Sciences and Animal Husbandry, Mizoram, under Central Agricultural University, Imphal. She did her master's in veterinary parasitology from Indian Veterinary Research Institute, Izzatnagar, Bareilly, and obtained her master's from College of Veterinary Science, Khanapara, under Assam Agricultural University. She then did her postdoctorate under DBT Overseas Associateship as a at the Research Institute on Organic Agriculture, Switzerland in 2019. She began her career as a veterinary officer in Arunachal Pradesh in 2008. Later, she joined Agricultural Research Services in 2009 and subsequently was posted to ICR-NRC on Yak in 2010. Dr. Bam has published 18 peer-reviewed articles, one book, 7 book chapters, 2 invited or lead papers, 25 conference papers, and over 30 technical articles. Her major area of research is on parasite management in yak on pastures. Her focus has been seasonal parasitism in yak and the status of enthelmintic resistance in yaks on pastures. She has also worked on ethnobotanicals against hematophagous leeches of yaks under DBT-funded project. So she has been actively associated with many research projects on yak parasites, yak diseases, yak milk, and socio-economic studies of yak rearing communities. Currently, she is the principal investigator of Network Project on FMD and 2 institute projects and co-PI in an AICRP, DBT, and 2 institute projects. So today she will deliver a lecture on the topic Yak Husbandry in India. So, ma'am, it is a matter of immense pleasure to have you with us. Without wasting much of your time, shall we start with your presentation, ma'am?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ajeta.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. A very good afternoon to all the participants, Dr. Ajeta and the coordinators. I, first of all, would like to thank you all to have invited me for this lecture. It's a matter of immense pleasure for me. So let me begin with the presentation today. As you know already, it is yak husbandry in India. So yak is not a species that we usually study so much in depth during our BBSc or in any curriculum. So let me try to introduce you to yak from a very beginner's perspective. So first of all, yak is one of the most remarkable domesticated animals adapted to high altitude living in the harshest of climatic conditions. It is believed to have been domesticated by the Qinghai people of the Qinghai Tibetan Plateau from its wild counterpart, that is Bosmutus. So it inhabits very high altitude mountains in the Himalayas, in Tibetan Plateau, entire Indian territory of Ladakh, ranging from Ladakh to Arunachal Pradesh, then Western China, Pakistan, Northern Afghanistan, Bhutan, Mongolia, Nepal, and Russia. And this species has also been introduced to many European countries and also in America. So how do we distinguish this animal? So this has a very distinct feature because it's a very hairy animal with a very hairy body coat, which comprises of long shaggy hair and a dense inner wool or the undercoat. And it also has a characteristic tail with a very long tail switch extending from the tip till the end. And mostly it comes, the predominant color is black, and also it comes in many other colors, especially in the domesticated yaks. But when we talk about the wild yak, it mostly comes in black color. The world population of yak is about 14.2 million, of which 94% is in China. And India has a very small population of yak. So in India, yaks are highly valued in the Himalayan region by the Himalayan people because of its contribution to the life of the region. In the high altitude Himalayas, where agriculture is virtually existing, there not many animals are able to thrive and produce and support the livelihood of the people living there. So yak is uh, not only providing food in the form of milk and meat, it also provides shelter through its hide, it through this fiber, clothes through the fiber, and also serves as a great means for transportation in the hilly tracks because it is well adapted to climb in the high altitude mountains under hypoxic conditions, and also because of their sure-footedness, they're able to even climb through rocky areas. Yak is mostly reared under transhuman system at an altitude between 3,000 to 4,500 meters above mean sea level. The word yak has been adapted from Tibetan word gyag, which literally means yak, the male yak. So the male yak is known as gyag in the Tibetan word, or in India it is known as yak. And the female, mostly it is known as bri, dri, or demo or chawar gai in Uttarakhand and in Nepal. So when in any interaction with the farmers, when you say yak for a female animal, the farmers usually do not understand because that is meant only for the male animals. So coming to the yak population in India, the yak population in India has been on a decline since 1970s when it was 1 lakh, over 1,32,000. But according to the recent census in 2019, that is the 20th livestock census, the yak population in India is around 57.66 thousand. So the highest population of yak is in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which during the time of the census, it was Jammu and Kashmir. Now, of course, it has been divided. Also, the UT of Ladakh, which has the highest population of yak, it has been divided. And next followed by Arunachal Pradesh, then Sikkim, Himachal Pradesh, West Bengal, and a few population of yak is in Uttarakhand, but in the 20th census, it wasn't given. Coming to the trend of yak population in India, as you see, since 1987, there was an incline in the yak population till 2007, where it reached the highest of 83,000. And then there was a slight decline in the next census, and in the last census, the latest census, there is a steep decline again. And if we see the state-wise trend in the yak population, you can appreciate that in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, it was in an incline since 1997 in till 2007. But after that, there is a decline. But if you see the population in the states of Arunachal Pradesh, it has been on an incline since 1997, and in 2019, it has reached 24,075. And also in the case of Sikkim, is almost same. But in the case of Himachal Pradesh, we have seen a little bit of decline in the latest census. And in the state of West Bengal, in 2012, there was huge number, and in 2019 it has declined to only 213. Coming to the distribution of yak, in Jammu and Kashmir, it is mostly concentrated in the Doda district and UT of Ladakh in Leh and Kargil area. In Arunachal Pradesh, only two districts of the state has yak population, that is Tawang and West Kamen. In the state of Sikkim, north, east and west districts of Sikkim has yak population, and most of the population is concentrated in the north Sikkim. In the state of Himachal Pradesh, Chamba, Lahul Spiti and Kinnaur districts have yak population, and Uttarakhand in Garhwal and Kumaon region, they were few population. And regarding the yak population in West Bengal, it is mostly in the area bordering Nepal and Sikkim. Coming to the breeds of yak, there are different kinds of yak, but till now there has been only one registered breed of yak. So in the initial work on Indian yak, based on the geographical location, it was classified into Ladakhi, Arunachal, Sikkim and Himachal yak. It was purely based on the geographical isolation, thinking that these animals have not interacted because of the geographical foundation. So this classification was proposed by Div Sarkar and co-workers in 1997. And also there is another classification of yaks on the basis of the phenotypic appearances, that is as a common type, Bisonian type, bareback, hairy forehead, and white type. And only recently, the only registered breed of yak in the name of Arunachali, which is only the population of yak found in the Arunachal Pradesh state. These are the 5 phenotypes of yak, as you can appreciate from the very first picture. As the name suggests, the hairy forehead has a peculiar hair patches on its forehead, like a fringe in a lady. It has it, so it is named as hairy forehead. Another one is white type. So white type is a very small population of yak, around 1% only. It appears in pure white coat. So it is known as white type. And the common type, the one which looks more like cattle, that is the most common one. And then it is the bareback, as you can appreciate from the picture. On the back of the animal, there is no heavy or thick hair. It can only be seen near the skirt, because yak is having a very distinct distribution of this upper body coat, which extends from its shoulder till the end, through the line of the plank. So it looks like the animal is wearing a skirt. So the bareback is having only the skirt is appreciable, but on the back of the animal, you cannot really see much thick body coat. And the Bisonian type, it's a very big built animal and it looks like a bison, so it was rightly typed as the Bisonian type. Coming to the only registered breed of yak in India, that is Arunachali. It was registered in 2017 by the joint effort of ICR and RC on yak and ICR NBGR Karnal. And the home tract of this yak breed is West Kamen and Tawang districts, and the population as per the 20th census is over 24,000, and it is mostly reared by the Monpa communities of these two districts. And the main purpose of rearing this animal is for its milk, meat, fiber, transportation, and manure. And I would like to describe a little bit about the physical characteristics of this yak. This mostly comes in black. Over 85% of the population is in black in color. Then it also comes in dark brown, light brown, and in a mix of brown and white, and a mix of black and white. And there is another color which is gray. And this is not a very big animal. It's comparatively a medium-sized animal. And the head is convex with prominent head poles, and the horns curved and black in color and bigger in males in comparison to female. and the ear is horizontal, muzzle is black in color, and the fleece from the brisket, belly, rib, lateral part, legs, and cover the whole long hair. And the body weight generally is from about 200 to 416 kilograms. And the body weight is obviously higher in males. It will be adult male will be weighing anywhere between 350 and 450 kilograms. And this is just a picture of a herd of yaks, Arunachali yaks, captured in West Kameng district of Arunachal Pradesh. And this is the production characteristics of the Arunachali breed of yak. As you can see, this animal does not produce so much of milk. The milk production is only around 1.01 kg per day, and the lactation yield is 185 kilograms, and the average lactation length is 6 months, and the dry period is longer, almost 1.5 years. And this animal is also reared for fiber production. So the age at first clipping is 1 to 1.5 year, and the coarse fiber yield is about 1.5 kg around that age. But in case of more adult animal with over 3 years or 4 years, the production will be higher. And also the fine fiber is around 0.5 kg per clipping. And the productive parameter is like the birth weight is around 13 kilograms for male and so for the female. And age of sexual maturity is 34 to 36 months, and gestation period is over 263 days. Intercalving period is 510 days. The rearing system, when we talk about the rearing system of yak in India, it is reared by the pastoral nomads in a transhumance pattern, which says that they travel on the same track every single year to go to the higher pastures during the summer season and come down to the lower pasture during the winter season. And also the calendar remains almost the same. And it is reared in almost zero input system. I won't say zero because there is involvement of little bit of flour and some salt which is given to the animal. So it is almost zero system, input system. And feeding, there is no other feeding other than that handful of flour and salt. So it is mostly reared on purely on grazing based on the quality of the pasture grasses, so the animal will perform. So they follow the pastures, they follow two pasture utilization strategy, that is summer pasture and winter pasture. And this picture is just to show the kind of pasture ground or kind of rearing areas that we are practicing in India. The first picture is the cold desert of Ladakh, where you cannot see much of greenery and only few stubbles of grasses are seen around the valley. That is where the yak graze and survive. And the other picture is of the Himalayan grasslands and meadows. It is in the states of Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, and in Himachal Pradesh, most of the yaks are reared in this kind of topography. Coming to the pastoral nomadic communities, the pastoral nomadic communities that rear yak are known as Brokpas in Arunachal Pradesh. This is a clan under the Monpa tribe. The Monpa tribe of Arunachal Pradesh is divided into many clans and which own several lands or property. But Brokpa is the only clan which doesn't have any land. The only belonging they have, the only property they have is their animals, and they move along with them. And the land they graze and the village they settle in during the winter season, for that they have to pay tax in terms of goods as they produce, or even livestock after every few years, to be able to graze the land and also to be able to settle during the winter period. So they have to pay to the other clans. And this nomadic community in Sikkim is called Dokpas. There the land ownership is slightly different. They do own some land, and the clan that rear yak in Ladakh, they are known as Changpa or Champa. So basically, yak, they are moved along the pastures in higher, lower, and through the mid-altitude pastures in a herd of around 75. Because it is said a smaller herd, it is less productive because the labor it will have, and also looking at the longer intercalving period and shorter production time, it is always better to have a bigger herd, which is manageable enough. So a herd of around 50 or 75, 80, that is optimal for optimal production to have a very economical yak husbandry. And this herd basically composed of mostly milking females, dry animals, heifers, young female calves, and few bulls. And in this, if you can see, because it is mostly comprising of the female animals, there are very few bulls that they use, and the surplus male calf or the male calf itself, they do not bring it up because it only adds to uh, more resources or grass resources being consumed. This is a migratory pattern of yak developed. This picture was developed by Dr. Bora in 2013, which depicts the movement, the alpine pastures which they go during the summer period, and it can be up to 4,900 meters above mean sea level, where the brockpas stay from June to September. And after September is over, they start declining down through October and November, depending on the pasture and the distance from the village. The duration of transit may differ, but then they come down to the winter grazing pasture, after reaching which they let loose their animal, stop milking them, and allow the animal to stay there and make or to live there with the minimal resources whichever is available, so they don't put any extra strain on the animal by milking them or getting work out of them. This is just a picture to show how this summer grazing ground looks like in contrast to the winter grazing ground. During the lush green season in the summers, when the farmers are in the high altitude, they allow their animals for free grazing without any hindrance to them, so that they can put on as much as body fat, as much as body weight they can. Because during the winter season, in the drier, snow-covered pasture, they lose around 30% of their body weight. And also the milking animal, the cease milking. So they are not milked anymore during the winter. And coming to the breeding strategies that the brockpas or they follow, it is a pure breeding. Mostly the animal owners they follow, because most of the time the brockpas follow either yak only or yak cattle hybrid. So most of the brockpas which go in a very high altitude grazing ground, they follow pure yak, or the ones which graze on a little lower altitude, they go for the hybridization. So there is a huge risk of inbreeding in their breeding practice, as because of the geographical isolation, they don't interact with a new gene pool. They are in the same group, and also use of very small number of bulls. As I showed you already, in the herd composition, the number of bulls is very less, and it is used for up to 3 to 5 years, after which it is replaced. So the frequency of replacing or introducing a new bull is fairly low, and also the practice of bull exchange is not very frequent. It's rather rare. And as I told you about the species hybridization between male hill cattle called galang and yak female is very commonly practiced in Arunachal Pradesh. and also in the UT of Ladakh. This male F1 is known as the Zo, and the female is known as the Zomo, and it is preferred by many herders because of better milk yield, meat production, and also the draft power, and also because they can very well adapt with the high altitude and also the low altitude areas fairly easily. And this is just a pictorial depiction of those animals, how they look like. The mountain hill cattle, Galang, it has a very pointed horn, and it's very well built like that of Mithun, between Mithun and cattle, it looks like that. And when it is bred with female yak, then the Zo and the Zomo is produced. And also apart from this, the Brokpas of the region, they also use many other different crosses. So I have just tried to shown you how they use it. So male as a male parent also they use, a female parent also they use. But of course, as a female yak and Galang cross, that's the most desired among the herders. Regarding the reproductive trait, age at puberty among Indian yak is around 36 to 42 months, and age at first calving is 46 to 52 months. Gestation period, I've told before, 263 days, and intercalving period is 18 to 22 months. Coming to the productive performance of Indian yak, yak is reared for milk, meat, fiber, and drop power. So yak milk under field condition, lactation in yaks, irrespective of their age, parity, breed, or type, is attained during the summer grazing period, that is from the period of July to August. This is when the animal produce highest. Even though the animal reaches their highest destination, the high alpine pastures, by June, it takes some time for the animal to recover from the travel and from the winter stresses and the lost body weight. So it takes a little time, and after that, the animal produces more milk. And the average milk production, I have already told about Arunachal yak, and in other yaks, which it can be little higher, 1.5 to up to 2 kgs it can be. And yak milk is highly nutritious, rich in fat, essential minerals, and healthy polyunsaturated fatty acids like conjugated linolenic acid and omega-3 fatty acids. And because of which yak milk can be advocated for the people with heart difficulties or high cholesterol level because of the beneficial properties of this milk. But yak milk as such, it is not consumed fresh because most of the production season, the animal is in the high altitude mountains. And those high altitude pastures are at least few hours or even days away from the last motorable road. So selling yak milk as such, that question doesn't arise. So mostly yak farmers, they convert it into valuable traditional products, which they bring down during their down migration and sell it in the local market. And these are some of the traditional milk products prepared by yak farmers. Yak butter, the first product is the yak butter. After the butter, the fat is being removed, then it is converted into churpi or churkam. Churpi is a kind of a wet cheese, slightly fermented. For new consumption or the fresh for shorter duration, it is mostly wrapped in rhododendron leaf, and also the butter is wrapped like that. But this harder churkam, which is dehydrated paneer, you can say, this is very hard, so you can air dry it and use it in a container, or it can be left loose or without being spoiled. And for longer storage, the churpi or the butter is also kept in animal hides. So this, for churpi, it It is kept above the fireplace so that it gets little warm to develop further fermentative flavor. And for the butter, it is kept in a colder place after being stitched in an animal hide. Regarding the meat is one of the major source. Yak is one of the major source of meat for the higher communities. There are communities within certain Himalayan region where the high class to say they do not consume any other meat other than yak meat or the sheep meat, which is reared on high altitude pastures away from human littering. So yak is usually not slaughtered. As you can see, the population of yak is very less. So in many states, the slaughter is banned. But during winter season, they are slaughtered, especially during the Tibetan New Year called Losar, where the surplus animals are sold or the unproductive animals are sold for meat. And also in the state of Sikkim, there is a huge slaughter just before Losar, in which around some 200-300 animals are slaughtered in one single day. And meat is consumed after sun drying. They store it for a longer period of time, or consumed as part of thuppa, which is a soupy noodle. Then they make momos out of it, and also they make blood sausage. The blood is also not wasted. Blood is mixed with rice and some fat and tucked into the intestine and made into sausages. This is a little bit about the proximate composition of yak meat studied at ICRNRC on yak. According to this study, they say the yak between 2.5 to 3.5 years of age is the best time to slaughter, looking at the dry matter, protein, fat, and ash content. So this was the best time recommended for it, for slaughter. And now coming to the fiber, yak mostly contain two kinds of fiber: the outer coarse fiber, which is more like a human hair, and a fine fiber, which is the down fiber, which develops during the winter season, and it is plucked off as the temperatures start going up. And broadly, this yak fibers can be classified into three categories: the obvious outer coat and inner coat, and in between there is also a mid-type fiber. So the outer coat, the outer coarse hair has a diameter of around 50 to 100 micron, and the down fiber is really fine. It is having a fiber diameter of 20 micron. So it is regarded as one of the most expensive natural fibers obtained from animals. And this yak fiber can come in all these colors. And fiber is traditionally used for making these mats or tents, and for making caps, dresses, jackets, and also products of their daily use. And another very important product of yak is the chawar, which has a lot of religious significance in Hinduism and in Buddhist, and also in Sikh community. And yak is also an excellent pack animal, and male yak can carry up to 35% of its live weight and can walk to 14 kilometers with a speed of 4 to 6 kilometers per hour. And in many regions, yak is also used for plowing. And these are just pictures where yak had been used as a porter animal for the military post, high-reached military posts, where mules cannot be used. And also, another picture is that of zomos carrying load during migration. During the upper migration, this was recorded last 2 months back in one of the pastures when the herders were migrating along with their animals. And yak is also an excellent animal for ride. These are the important diseases. Yak suffer from viral diseases like FMD and IBR. These are the two most important diseases. And In the state of Arunachal Pradesh, since last 10 years, there is no report of FMD, but even though there have been many reports of FMD in cattle, as these yaks are mostly during the outbreak time, it was in the high reaches away from other livestock. And among the bacterial diseases, HS, BQ, brucellosis are important, and other minor diseases like calf score or navel ill also do happen under farm condition. And the parasitic diseases, among the parasitic diseases, babesiosis and toxoscariosis is the most important one, as babesiosis take a very peracute form, and as the animals start having fever and suddenly few animals die, so it seems to be less tolerant to babesiosis. And toxoscariosis is one of the major cause of calf mortality under field condition, and also they do suffer from other gastrointestinal nematodes and ectoparasites like ticks, flies, and flea, warble, and leech are very common. Looking at the importance of this animal, the Indian Council of Agricultural Research established ICR National Research Center on Yak in Arunachal Pradesh in 1989, and subsequently the institute also established its own yak farm at an altitude of 2,750 meters in a place called Nyukmadong, where a yak farm was set up in contrast to the migratory pattern to show how a sedentarization or conventional farming can also be possible for yak. The aim for this establishment of this institute was mostly to conserve and improve yak germplasm of the country, and to generate cost-effective technologies for socioeconomic upliftment of yak husbandry centric highlanders. So this is a picture of the institute farm of ICR NRC on yak, and these are the animals. So from the beginning, this institute has been working for the betterment of yak. So firstly, they did through establishing a model to show that sedentarization can be possible in yak by establishing its yak farm, which serves as a demonstration unit, and also to study various aspects of yak diseases, and reproductive technologies. And secondly, after the establishment of this institute, the yak characterization was done. Initially, based on the phenotype, it was characterized into 5 phenotypes, and finally, the breed of Arunachali yak was registered in the name of Arunachali. And also, the nutritional intervention is one of the most important thing in yak husbandry, which yak husbandry is facing today because of the degradation of the pastures, and also competition with other animals, and loss of body weight during the winter feed scarcity period. So to address all these problems, area-specific mineral mixture, complete feed block, pasture development, and uh, concentrate feed for the yaks was developed by the institute. And regarding the conservation of superior germplasm, AI was standardized and in 2005, and the first AI calf was born in 2006. And also the institute does estrus synchronization. Then the first ETT calf was born, and in 2013, first IBF yak calf was also born. And institute also focus on the value addition of yak products. And so there is a small unit which do value addition of yak milk, yak fiber, and a little work was done on yak meat. And also institute is trying to promote alternate use of yak as a pack animal, and also for riding by tagging it with ecotourism. And the percolation of these technologies to the field through capacity building is also one of the major area where the the institute is working on, where it gives training not only to the yak rearers on scientific rearing practices, on adoption of technologies developed by the institute, but also gives training to other stakeholders like the line department and scientists or professionals from related to yak husbandry. There are, even with so much effort from the institute and from the animal husbandry departments of all the yak rearing states of the country, the yak and the yak farmers are still facing a lot of challenges. And one of the prime challenges is the declining in yak population, which is very appreciable in last census, in the 2019 census, which showed a steep decline, especially in the state of uh, Jammu and Kashmir. And there is inavailability of sufficient grazing ground, competition with other species for grazing area. This is especially true in case of area of in UT of Ladakh, where there is a huge competition between yak and Pashmina goat for the same limited grazing area. And also in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, where yak, yak cattle hybrids, and hybrid herd mostly also comprise of cattle and sometimes even sheep. So there is a competition among these species for the grazing area. In addition, there is also degradation of rangeland through encroachment of weeds and due to forest fire, which is a frequent uh, thing, especially in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, where forest fire uh, usually happens. And there is low income from yak farming, which is a very big challenge due to low productivity of the animal. So the income from the animal in compared to the hardship the farmer has to go through is huge. And there is also the decline in yak herders. The newer generation are reluctant to carry on with this age-old tradition, and with the old ones not able to carry on with this tradition because of the hard terrain, because of the health issues, they sometimes have to sell off the complete herd, and that creates a problem. And also the obvious hardship associated with the nomadic lifestyle, in addition to the locations, summer locations, being away from the all the infrastructural developments, that is away from road, away from schools, away from hospital facilities. So this makes it even more challenging. And in addition, there is climate change. Climate change is can affect yak husbandry, as they are animals which are in the cold snowbound areas, so its effect on yak can be tremendous. An episode of which was seen in 2019 in the state of Sikkim, where due to non-stop snowfall for over 3 months, many yaks died of starvation. Over 500 yaks died in a place called Mukuthang in Sikkim, where the main cause of death was starvation. The ICRNRC on Yak is working to support such natural calamities by way of giving feed and post. These are the pictures of the post-disaster mitigation that was done, wherein animal feeds were given, veterinary medicines were given to the farmers to aid them with the little help that the institute could make, and also through distribution of complete feed block. And post that disaster, each year the institute is having a pre-disaster plan kind of, in which they give feed to the animal farmers as a stock in case a disaster like that happens again, that they are better prepared. And also through giving feed blocks. And apart from that, we also give training on all the temperate grasses which can be grown in the little lower altitude and in the high altitude. And also we focus our effort on identification and propagation of locally available tree fodders, so that this also serves as a source of nutrient during the winter scarcity period. The way forward for yak husbandry could be through making it more profitable, which can be achieved through several ways, and by linking this yak husbandry to tourism. Not only yak can be used as a fodder animal or for plowing, it can be used as a companion animal for the tracks where it can carry the load, and also it can be used for photography or yak farming as a whole. It can be explored as part of ecotourism. And through development of yak-based social entrepreneurship, because yak, conserving yak is very important to also conserve the culture and tradition of the yak herders. So if it can be linked through social entrepreneurship development, then yak can also be saved. And another way could be through development of high value products. Since yak milk, meat, and fiber are of high value, so there can be development of these products which can be more remunerative and can sustain yak husbandry. And through development of specific policies targeted for conservation and for betterment of yak husbandry in the country. And one example of the social entrepreneurship that I talked about, this is a social entrepreneur or a social society-based business established in Tibet called as Norla, which deals with luxury yak wool or items, high-end fashion items. They sell it only to the foreign markets, in which it comprises of garments, it comprises of scarves, it comprises of toys or uh, home furnishings, and it is established through association with the yak farmers, where they could add a lot of value to the income of the farmers through development of yak fiber. And these are some of the high value yak products which were developed by ICR NRC on yak. Recently, a yak cheese, which is a ripened yak cheese, was developed by ICR NRC on yak. And also there were other products like designer yak paneer, in which the fat percentage was lowered and added some dietary fibers for enhancing the texture and flavor of the paneer, which can address to the conscious consumers. And also yak dahi, yak ghee. When we talk about ghee, the desi ghee or the A2 ghee is the choice today. So banking that as yak is grass-fed, pure, almost organic. So this can be pitched in that light to bring more income to the farmers. And also, as we know that yak fine fiber is one of the finest animal fibers, and it is of high value, and there are companies like Norla which is manufacturing that. But another component of yak fiber, which is the coarse fiber, since it is very coarse and not really suitable for any textile development, so this fiber was ignored. So with the collaboration of another ICR institute, that is NINFET, ICR NRC on yak, blended yak fiber, this coarse yak fiber with the jute fiber, and developed a fabric out of it, which can be used for making garments, and it can be used for making many utility items, which is very promising. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a beautiful and extensive presentation on yak husbandry. Shall we take the questions now, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So there is one question in the chat box.
Okay,
It is from Dr. Lima Bora.
okay.
She's saying that very good presentation, ma'am, and she's asking, since it is shown that yak population in Arunachal is increasing,
Yes.
please elaborate. Then there are three parts of the question. In second
Okay.
part, if Brokpa economy in recent years is dependent on only yak rearing or like other farming systems have gone diversified. And third part, is barter exchange still prevalent?
Sorry?
Is
Butter.
barter
Okay.
exchange still prevalent?
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Lima Bora, for the question. Um, Hello, ma'am. Yes, the yak population in Arunachal Pradesh has shown an increase, and as we see that the interventions or the encouragement that the institute has been making through its research, through its extension work, and especially due to the support from the government in the form of tribal subplan or scheduled tribe component, under which we could organize programs, we could organize trainings, we could also give plenty of input to the farmers in the form of feed and other processing equipments like cream separators, which has brought a lot of positive outlook among the farmers to continue this, and also the intervention from the local community, which restricts the slaughter of animals in the area, may be one of the reasons. So I think those are the reasons for the yak population to have increased in the last census. And coming to the second question, the yak farmers even today are not much engaged in other source of income, other source of livelihood. Their livelihood still is yak farming and the income through uh, the yak produce. And regarding the barter system, yes, some form of barter system still exists. As Dr. Lima Borasi has worked on Yak under this institute for many years, she's very well aware of. So uh, when the farmers go on the higher altitude with their animals, so very minimal amount of feed for the animal in the form of flour they can carry on the animals. So once they have gone up on the higher altitude and started producing their products like milk products, once they started doing it, some people, some local people, they do take some flour and give it to them in exchange of the milk goods. So this is still prevalent. In exchange for animal feed, they still, or not only animal feed, in exchange for rice, in exchange for some vegetables or some alcohol or something, they still do barter system.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Then
you.
the next question is from Dr. Anil Deka.
Okay.
He's asking why the Monpa community of Arunachal rear yak and why Nishi and Apatani caste of Arunachal do not rear yak.
Okay. Thank you so much for the question, Dr. Anil Dika. Why only Monpa community of Arunachal Pradesh is rearing yak is that yak is only found in the high altitude. So in the districts of West Kameng and Tawang, which is Monpa dominated area, here only yak population is found. And the Nishi dominated area, which is like the East Kameng or Subansiri districts, they are on a little bit of lower altitude. So this animal cannot be adapted to that lower altitude as it start coming into stress after the temperature, ambient temperature has gone above 10 degrees Celsius. So because of that, it is not reared by other communities. But some population of yak was introduced in the East Kameng districts in the higher altitudes. So in that there are some, but that is also not reared by the Nishi community.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Then another question from Dr. Anil Deka. He's asking what is the typical anatomical difference in the stomach of yak and cattle?
anatomical difference in the stomach of yak and cattle. Uh, he is Dr. Anil Deka is from uh, anatomy. He will be knowing better, but there is not much difference in the anatomy as such. But the yak is having some very beneficial microorganisms which helps in digestion of high lignin or high cellulose content uh, feed resources that makes it better use for the animal.
Okay, ma'am. Then the next question is from Dr. Pavan. He's asking how aggressive yaks are when compared to buffaloes during restraining.
During restraining, yaks can be very aggressive. It depends on the farmer, basically the temperament of the farmer and how well the farmer is in handling the animals. If the animals are being handled by the single farmer or the same family members, and they keep on attending their animal while feeding them or while milking them, they are less aggressive. But there are farmers who are not really good in catching. For example, there was one picture that I had shown you. That was one farmer who had not really good in catching the animal, so he had big trouble. And in the under field condition, so when we go for any kind of blood sampling or fecal sampling or any kind of like body measurement or something, it can be it can be little problematic because once one animal run away, most of the animals do run away. So some animals are aggressive, some are not.
Okay, ma'am. Then the next question is from Dr. Sudesh Radotra. He's asking, what could be the probable reason for decreasing population of yak in Ladakh, UT?
Uh, so one of the main reason in the declining yak population in Ladakh was attributed to the fact that Pashmina rearing was more profitable. So there were uh, specific policies to develop Pashmina rearing in the UT of Ladakh, where they give some incentive to the farmers. If even the animals were animal died or something, some money was given to the farmers. So there was support, and also the Pashmina fiber being a fiber of high value, and the animals being smaller in number, so that led to this sense of competition in the grazing area. So some farmers shifted from Pashmina to, Yak to Pashmina. This is said to be one of the major cause. And the other, like in every other state also, we are facing the same problem of pasture scarcity. And another reason is the reluctance of the younger generation to follow this hard husbandry practice.
Okay, ma'am. Then the next question is from Dr. Pavan. He's asking, what is the normal body temperature of yaks? Okay.
Normal body temperature of yak is similar to that of cattle.
Okay, ma'am. So this is all in the chat box. Okay. No, Dr. Pavan is again asking, is there any changes in hematology?
Hematology is also almost the same.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you so much. Any other participant? Okay. Dr. Anil Dekha is asking, how many number of layers present in the hair follicle of yak?
What?
Name of
Sorry.
the layers. How many number of layers present in the hair follicle of yak? Name of the layers.
I don't know. Thank you.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Any other participant, they can unmute themselves and ask the question directly. If any other question. Okay, I think this is all. Ma'am, you may unshare your presentation slide screen. And thank you so much, ma'am, once again for such a nice presentation. And it was actually, I must say, it was actually a kind of introductory lecture for many of our participants about the yak husbandry, as you have touched almost all the parts of yak husbandry, like yak rearing, its products and byproducts, its diseases, and what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, its socioeconomic status, how they are affecting the yak rearers, and their socioeconomic status. And thank you once again, ma'am, for sharing your valuable knowledge on this platform.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Let's join back tomorrow at 11.